This is really about being free to create what you want your life to look like. We each are our own hero. And how do we take the challenges that come our way and see those as the birth process of us becoming heroic? Can you meet that judgment that ultimately will surface with neutrality?
This is the Wall Street Coach Podcast with Kim Ann Curtin.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Wall Street Coach Podcast. Today is going to be a wonderful day because we have two really smart men, in addition to Lucas, the smart man that's always here, Benito Segovia and Ricky Analog. And I'm very pleased to have them both here. First, I'm going to just give a little bit of props to Benito because he and I now know each other almost a year. Is it over a year?
Yep.
It's a long time.
June was the first time.
Benito and Adriano of TrueTrader reached out to me back in last June. And I have to be honest, when I first got the email from Adriano, I wasn't sure if it was legit because he was I just thought this person sounds too nice and sincere. And that's how I roll, but there's not a lot of people like that out there. And then I got to meet you, Benito, and we just hit it off right from the get-go. So who is Benito? Benito is basically, helping to run everything at TrueTrader. Adriano is, just a genius on many levels, and that's why he's smart enough to have found Benito. I love how you and Adriano met, so we might have to talk about that a little bit as well, because that is a pretty magical story. Yeah. So Benito is known at TrueTrader admin on the TrueTrader platform. He has a vast skill set as an entrepreneur, as a programmer, and as a trader. And Ricky, of course, is one of the teachers on the TrueTrader platform. And Ricky has so much in his background, but the little bit I can tell you about him is that he's got a really significant background in equities. And he also has some great content on YouTube under SEC filings that I highly recommend. But there's more to both of you gentlemen. So Benito, we'll start with you. Tell us, what didn't I speak to in your bio?
You pretty much nailed it. I'm just a guy, but yeah. You're right. Adriano. I don't think he's very well known. He's over on Twitter as Titus, and so people I think know him under Titus. But yeah, he did a really cool thing by bringing our team together for this thing we're doing called TrueTrader, which is just to try to help people learn how to trade stocks and options in a safe, consistent, and self-sustained way. So, our success is when, members say goodbye and can do this themselves. They stick around because it's fun, but they don't have to. And, Ricky's a big part of that, and the Goose and others like that. As far as myself, you kind of got it. I'm a developer and an entrepreneur, and so I don't have a ton of trading experience. I've been doing it for about year and a half, 2 years now, coming up on 2 years. So I'm still baby fresh, and so I don't pretend to be a pro at this at all. But one of the things that really has captured this particular project has captured my attention and my heart is what it's doing for people, and that's always kind of been a goal of mine, is to try to help people as best you can. Either you bring them from 0 to 1, or 1 to 2, and all that kind of thing. So I get a nice opportunity to do that. And I think you mentioned once, Kim, you used the word nourishing, and I think that's really been a word that stuck with me after you said it, because I'm like, this is just so. It's so much better. This is so nice what's happening for people in this thing.
And I want you to speak to Ricky about your background, but I just want to speak to one thing you just said, Benito, about the environment. The word you didn't include about the environment of TrueTrader is encouraging. It is such an incredibly supportive place where people really have each other's backs, and it's really remarkable community you've put together, you and Adriano. So I'm just so impressed. Yeah, really impressed with that. So Ricky, I described you a tiny bit. Tell us more. And thank you for the shout out to Hawaii with your aloha hat today.
Shaka. Yeah, so I've been trading 8 years, which is why my face hasn't aged quite as well as Benito's. And kind of like what you said, I have a YouTube channel where I teach people the basics of tearing into these SEC filings on what we quote unquote call turds, or crappy companies that are usually small caps and have basically a landmine filled with red flags. So
you can curse here, Ricky. Just by the way,
I try not to. But
sat next to a trading desk for a long time, so I have to say I can't really hold back sometimes the cursing. You don't have to, but I'm just letting you know it's a curse allowed zone.
Yeah. So in like I think I kind of have that that tag placed on me, which is like this small cap kind of trader. But I think what a lot of people might not know is that I trade very heavily in the large caps and the mid caps too. I just don't have a YouTube channel for that stuff. And, Twitter, which is where I kind of is like, I guess my stomping grounds for posting all that kind of stuff, is where a lot of people know me from. And so they probably know me from all the small cap stuff there as well.
Yeah.
But at TrueTrader, we focus more towards, I would say, the large caps and the mid caps. And teaching traders a pretty unique strategy, something that, I've been trading 8 years and been around the block and seen a lot of different strategies. This one is definitely unique. You spoke to Adriano. I think the one thing I think when I think of him is the word genuine. That kind of has been passed down throughout the culture of TrueTrader, which is a bunch of people that are trying to live up to what the bar he set. Right. So probably one of the most genuine individuals ever. And like Benito said, on Twitter, he's Titus. So not a lot, there might be like this disconnect, but there's quite a few people, believe it or not, who do know who Titus is. And the people who need to know, and they will tell you he's a beast. So
yeah, for sure. His level of self-awareness and his level of humility for the journey and what it costs and what it takes out of somebody and what one has to bring by way of heart and discipline is just, he's lived the hero's journey, I think, many times over. And that's what I could pick up in his voice, from the beginning conversation I had with him. I was like, whoa, this guy has got gravitas. He's got gravitas, not just because of what he's done as a trader, but just because of what he's done as a human being on the journey called life, Yeah, special person. Special person. So Benito, tell us what ultimately TrueTrader is about for those who have never heard of it. Give them just a good sense that they could measure, wait, is that a place for me? What would you say they would need to know?
So it's a place for people who want to work at it. That's the first thing I would say, right? So there's lots of signal rooms and other stuff like that. That's not really what we're interested in doing. Although that happens, our main focus and mission is pretty straightforward. If you do the work, become self-sufficient. That's our success, right? Your success is our success, kind of thing. And so for people who haven't done that yet, this is a place to adopt a new career or begin a new career in trading. And so that's what we try to build our services around, and the different things that we do, whether it's the sort of educational content that we do, or the different webinars that we do. We do a lot of Zoom meetings like this, where it's open back and forth. We encourage cameras and people to get unmuted and get, just connect and talk about what it is that's struggling with them. And, so it's sort of a holistic approach to trading. It's one of the reasons we decided to go with the name TrueTrader, is because there's so many aspects to it. It's not just the technical, and it's the psychological, the mental, which is, kind of what you're helping us with on that side of things, right? It's the risk management. Ricky's a big part of that. He's really leading the charge and making sure people can stay safe with tons of content. So, that's it. And I think the word genuine comes into play, because as you guys were saying, Adriano has surrounded himself with people who really care. They really, really care. He doesn't suffer fools. He'll dump bad actors really fast. He has zero patience for that. But if you're genuine and you really are trying to help, you become part of the team. And it's just been an incredible sort of evolution, who we are blessed to be kind of working with, on top of all this. So it's been really cool.
It's got to be. It's just, I think, just in our world, to find really authentic people who care so much, it's just refreshing to have them all under one roof. So yeah, it's but like does draw like. That's what I think. So oftentimes, if you kind of resonate at that level, you're that kind of a lighthouse, you're going to draw those that are the lighthouses to you, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
The stories that are coming out of the room, and as we get to know people, it's been it's rocked my world in many ways. I mean, you have people going through life events and having to navigate this. I mean, today we had in the lunchroom, Ricky, over on Goose's thing, two people came out and said they had been laid off last year, and one of them just went through a big divorce, and the one lost his wife. So like life happens to people, and then they're trying to do this really hard thing on top of it, whether they're learning or they're kind of in midstream. And so like, and that happens. These things happen to people, right? Yeah. What's really encouraging is how the culture of what we're doing here, the members themselves come out in such strong support. There's such a tight family-like community that, they come out and help each other with. It's, forget TrueTrader, forget trading. I mean, just from like a human feature story, sitting back watching like these human beings be amazing to each other. It's really encouraging each other in this world. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, because the news and the media would have us believe that everybody's out for themselves, and then you don't even think that humanity has this good streak. But I think TrueTrader constantly proves that concept wrong, that people are out for themselves, because even my experience in the room and the way other people show instant support to anybody who's vulnerable, anybody who's honest about a challenge they're having, it's just palpable. So yeah, it's a pretty amazing quality. And Ricky, if you were to speak and introduce, like, how do you describe TrueTrader to people that ask you about it? If they don't know about it, what do you have to say about it when you tell people why they should be here?
A number of reasons. Like, one, because it's not an alert service. So we started in late 2019, I think, Benito. Mm-hmm. And it really was a unique timing situation, because right afterwards we went into COVID, and so many new faces came to the market looking for solutions to problems. And as most of you know, like, that's not what the stock market's for. In fact, it usually exacerbates them. So, we actually had a really big influx of new members pretty early on in TrueTrader's journey. And what our whole thing became was like taking a bunch of people who were, I mean, granted, we do have a core community of very experienced traders as well, but we did have a ton of members that were very green, like not on their P&L. I mean, like very new. And so like it really became a focus of protection first. And that's obviously what Benito was speaking to, is like risk management was one of our main focuses. And it's tough because you can tell somebody not to touch a hot stove 100 times. Some people have to touch a hot stove. Yeah. And, that was also part of where the culture came in, of being so supportive, because it is one of the toughest jobs you can have. I mean, it's honestly, you have to really like that about it, because, and I do, it's the most challenging thing I've ever done. And that is the reason I love trading, the reason I love the markets. It's just, there's never a day that's boring. You're never not learning something. So like, compound that with the fact you have a bunch of new people, and they're usually newer traders, the last thing they learn is risk management, and they're usually taught it through hard lessons as opposed to being taught the proper way to do it right from the get-go.
Yeah.
So our whole thing became like, well, look, we have this strategy, and if you stick to it and you show discipline, and that's another thing we hammer upon is discipline, right? Sticking to your plan and trading the plan, not deviating. We kind of have this like thing where it's like, look, here, we're giving you this strategy and we'll teach it to you and we'll teach you everything we know. And you just need to put in the work and we're going to get you there. And so that's what TrueTrader really is. It's like, we're making a promise to you that we will do everything in our power to get you there. If you're willing to commit and put in the work, and we have the strategy and we have everything there, all the tools and support for you. That's what I would say TrueTrader is.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have a rough estimate on the ETA that somebody can expect to be in TrueTrader? And I get that it's different for everybody depending on how committed they are. But what's a good ballpark estimate just for somebody who's listening, who's like, how long would I be committed to them for?
I want to be very clear when I say this. It's really going to come down to how disciplined a person can be. Because there's people that could come in and we can teach them basically the fundamentals of what we do, which takes no time at all, a week, and then maybe put in another week or two of like really studying it. But after that point, I can teach you all the little nuances and all the little nuggets of wisdom that I've accumulated over the years. But it comes down to, are you a disciplined person? Because that's where true progress comes from, is the ability, because obviously here's what happens is newer traders come in, they get a few wins under their belt and they go, man, this is great. It's working so awesome. And then the second a trade doesn't work for them, they want to be stubborn about it. And instead of like cutting it where they know they should, they're just adding to it. And it basically snowballs out of control. And it's more about, you have to remain disciplined. You have to stick to that original plan and have that rock solid risk management. So it's tough to answer that question because it's going to be very individualized. There's some people I've seen come in and they get it within like a month. There's other people that have been with us probably 4, 5, 6 months, and they're reaching out to us, telling us like, here's what I'm struggling with. And one of the things, if anybody's listening to this and you are in our room, one of the things that amazes me is when somebody tells me they've been struggling, and it's the first time I'm hearing about it. And they go, oh, I've been struggling for like 2 months. And like, you should have said something 2 months ago. We're here for you. That's what our promise is, right? So.
But I think the culture probably outside of your room, with a lot of different places, certainly places like as huge as Twitter, if anything, you're made to feel ashamed because you think you're the only one, because you see all these ballers out there, or people who are, let's call them what they are, liars, saying that it's so easy, saying that this shit is like, oh, look what I created. But they never show you when they have a bad day. They never show you their red days. There are those who do, but the majority don't. And I bet you that's part of why people don't tell you guys right away, because they're embarrassed and ashamed. Because they think they might be the only one, and nobody likes to be the only one, the odd man out. But they're not the odd man out, but that's what it feels like probably.
You're probably spot on with that.
So the key here is like, don't believe the hype, because all the people that are hyping themselves up, if they are never telling you about the days when they're crying on the kitchen floor, they are not telling you the truth, because everybody has those days where you're crying on the kitchen floor. One thing we've never done is
you'll never see us posting P&Ls. Like that, we're not trying to attract that type of trader. And especially in 2020, that was what everyone was chasing, shiny objects, right? And that's why stocks ran the way they did. Everybody wanted to chase the next hot thing. And so like we weren't about that. We want traders that want to actually learn the craft, not just,
How did you get into it, Ricky?
I started out, I have a business with a business partner that allowed me to have passive income with that, which it was always something I was super interested in. I read a lot of books on stuff like value investing and like mostly like longer term stuff. And it was funny because my initial entry into the markets was like the first pot stock boom back in like 2013, late 2012, I think. And I ended up like following people on Twitter and buying up a bunch of like penny stocks that crushed. I blew up my me and my business partner had a joint account, and I had a personal account. I blew them both up in a few months.
Oh,
and it was like, I'm the type of person when like if something like that happens to me, there's no way I'm like calling it quits and walking away. Like I'm like, no, I got to figure this out. So that was my
challenge. You like a challenge, is what I'm hearing.
I do, and that's why, like I said, like, that's why the market is my addiction almost, and not in a negative way. Just like and it's not just the market. I love doing hard stuff. Like you'll always see me at the gym. Like I'm a skateboarder. Like, and I think that might have been something ingrained in me from a young age with skateboarding. Was like, if you eat shit on a trick, you don't just go home. You like dust off and try again, right? Like
wow. That's so true. That's such a great, it's part of the lesson of skateboarding, right? And even surfing, right? You have to just get back up on that board, get back up on either way. And if you do have that probably as a young person, you get used to the failure. You get used to the bruises and the cuts and the,
Well, and I have kids now,
demoralization.
and like my kids hear me say it all the time. I always tell them, if it's easy, it's not worth doing. So like my daughter my oldest one has certain subjects she doesn't like in school, or something that she's just struggling with. And I'm like, listen, it's worth doing because it's hard. If it was easy, then there's no real joy or fulfillment from accomplishing it. It's not even much of an accomplishment.
Yeah. It's funny. I just had a conversation with my colleague, Stephen Johnson from the Steady Trade podcast. And we were talking about, is discipline, are you born with discipline, or do you develop discipline? What do you think, Ricky?
I would like to lean towards you develop it. I think it's a lot of it is how you're raised too. Like I think I was taught it. I don't think I was maybe born with some. I don't know, but I would definitely say my environment was what pushed me into that direction. Yeah.
So you've started to, you blew up these accounts, and then I interrupted and diverted the conversation. So take us back. You blew up these accounts, and then what happened? You wanted to get it back.
Tell us more about your abject failures.
I mean, I just started putting in the work. I literally tore down everything I thought I knew and started from scratch. And
wow.
I learned all the market structures, things like that I had no clue about. Things as simple as just like realizing that you can short a stock. And I was like, well, I'm really good at knowing when they go down. I just accidentally hit the wrong button and buy them. So to be honest with you, actually, when I learned how to short stocks, I got profitable pretty quickly, but I didn't have the cornerstone piece, which was risk management. So I thought I was crushing it, and then like a rogue wave comes and hits you, and next thing you know, you're shorting something that you shouldn't be shorting. So it didn't blow me up the second time, but it was a big enough hit that I knew I needed to pump the brakes, and there was something I was still missing, and that was risk management. So
Gotcha. And with the people, let's just say on Twitter, those that reach out to you, do you have that reputation of being an advocate for risk management? Is that part of, your MO all the time?
I don't think I talk too much about it on Twitter. If you ask the room, if you ask TrueTrader, they would say so. Twitter is more like a sandbox. I post stupid pictures, and that's about. And I used to post a lot of stuff that I would dig up on these turds, right? So I used to post a lot of the research type stuff, and then 2020 happened, and fundamentals, the filings didn't matter. So that took a backseat. TrueTrader was kind of introduced, and we focused on that. And so I just recently started posting charts again. I stopped doing it because I just didn't think there was any ROI. People didn't care, and it takes a little bit of my time after the market closes, and I have kids and stuff. So
sure.
If it wasn't any point in doing it, I was I'll just spend that time with my kids. But I just out of curiosity wanted to have a little fun and started posting them again. And so I've been doing it. I mean, it doesn't take that much time. And
that's awesome.
That's kind of how I use Twitter. I think everybody has a different way of using it. Some people use it for ideas, how trade ideas. Some people might not be in rooms, and they're well, that's the only communication I have in this boring, lonely job. Not boring, but very lonely, right?
Yeah, it's repetitive. It's repetitive. And that's where I think it can be incredibly unboring if you immerse yourself in the materials. But if you don't, like, it's repetitive. So you can, I think, sometimes get bored because you do have to constantly repeat things every day in and out, whether you like to or not. And I think that can get boring and redundant, but unfortunately, it's the way this game works. So you're going to have to be okay with redundant and boring.
Most likely, if you find yourself bored and taking trades, you shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Probably
walk
true.
Away. Go for a walk. Go work out or something.
All right, well, I'm going to prepare you now. Towards the end of this interview, we're going to talk about like your top 2 or 3 most important critical things to get across to traders, so you can brainstorm a little bit on that, both of you. But Benito, I want you to tell us how trading even began for you, and then how you got introduced to Adriano, how you guys had that kismet meeting in a coffee shop, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you got it right. I mean, trading for me started with crypto, of all things. So,
wow.
I have to be perfectly honest with you. I had several opportunities to begin trading and getting into the markets. I'm a pretty analytical person. I consider myself a hard worker. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, restaurant owners. And so, it's 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. every single day, right, was like our lives. And so I've never been afraid of hard work. But I've always avoided trading in general because the few people that I met who were doing it were total character fire. They were just horrible. They were dumpster fires of a person. And so I got it into my head that if you become fabulously wealthy or successful, then something messes with you and you become a bad person, right? Somehow. And so I avoided it completely because this is a mortal world we live. We're not going to be here the whole time. And I'd like to think that I did good by my life. And so I just, said it's easier to avoid those kinds of things. I guess something happens. I don't want to be part of that. Yeah. So I avoided it. And so anyway, being a technical person, you asked about how I got into trading in the first place. Yeah. I started trading cryptocurrencies was where things started for me. And I know Ricky has his own opinion on the land of crypto. Being a technical person, I find it really interesting, technically speaking. So trading was my way of doing this. Let me acquire as many of these things as I can, whether through mining operations, through trading, anything like that, without spending any money on it. Right. That's what was like in my head. I was like, all right, like here, I'll buy, $200 worth. I think I had like 4 Bitcoin or 5 Bitcoin or something like that, and I was just like, and then I'll just like trade it. And my whole goal will be just to like make more of it through magic. That buttons and so you start like figuring things in, like there's lines and charts and and anybody who's gone down that journey probably knows what I'm talking about. So that's what I was doing when I met Adriano. I was I was running a business, and I had rented a spot in the back of this coffee shop. They happen to have like co-working spaces. I just moved back from Texas to Georgia. Had 2 kids. I didn't have another bedroom to be in an office. So I rented a co-working space, had my laptop. I decided to go out to the dining room that day and just eat some lunch and see if I can keep growing my Bitcoin stacks, right? And different cryptocurrencies. And I get this tap on the shoulder, and it's this like, I don't know, this like tanned, really built, guy with an accent. He turned out to be Adriano, who's like Italian Brazilian, right? So it's hard to describe. You have to kind of see him, but he goes, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" Like that, and I was like, okay, I'm trading Bitcoin. That's what I'm doing. And he looks at me really funny for a second. I'm thinking, oh, this guy doesn't know what Bitcoin is, and he definitely doesn't know what trading is. let me explain. Of course, he's been doing it for like 30 years, and he's like, so I started explaining it to him, and about 11 seconds into it, he waves me off, and he goes, yeah, but what's all that? Why do you have so much shit on your screen? That's what he said. I was just like, what? And then I was like, I got to be honest with you, man. I don't know. I'm drawing lines. I'm throwing chicken bones down. I'm trying to figure something out. I'll try anything that works. I don't know what this is. And he explained to me he's been trading stocks and futures and all sorts of stuff for like 25 years. And he mentioned like some indicator, Ichimoku Cloud. He goes, it's kind of like Forex, I think. He goes, I don't do crypto, but maybe try that. That's a good tip, and it helped me out, and it helped me calm down and get conviction and all that kind of stuff. But I asked him for his number if I could text him with random questions, and that's where things kind of started.
Wow.
A little tiny coffee shop, in the middle of wow. North Georgia. I just don't even understand it, how that happened. I always tell people.
And they went to the dining room that day.
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
mm-hmm.
Right? That one decision
mm-hmm.
put you in a place to have that conversation with him.
Yeah. And I wonder all the time, and this is, as a word, sonder. Have you heard the word sonder? You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Just like all these strangers walking past you with lives as complex and interesting and deep and full of pain and joy as yours. You'll never know it. Never know it, right?
Yeah.
I think about that often. Like how many Adrianos are we passing every day? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it happens. Just
it's a beautiful just perspective to keep in mind, because there could be somebody there. I mean, and there are people who have stories like yours where they talk to that one person and it changed their lives. I mean, honestly, I have thousands of stories like that, because I will talk to the Adrianos of the world in the coffee shops. And that has opened up opportunity for me many, many times. So yeah, we just need to be more open-minded. And I know, or just open, like our heart needs to be open. Okay. I just got really into Harry Styles over the weekend. Oh, cool. I know he's been around for a while, but I just never, I think I saw him show up to a couple of awards with like, a very feminine blouse. And I was kind of like, who's this guy? But I love fashion. I love men's fashion and menswear and everything. And I was like, wow, this guy's pushing the boundaries, like Bowie or Elton John, But I just checked him out this weekend. I think he's 27 years old. Like, this is a really authentic, who he is kind of guy. And the other thing I noticed through, whatever, he was on James Corden, like doing crazy things. I was like, he doesn't take himself too seriously either. And I just think maybe those are the two kind of key pieces, right? How do you stay authentically yourself and not take yourself too seriously? That's the sweet spot, it seems to me. So yeah, he kind of blew me away because I just never paid attention to him before. But I was like, wow, what a great role model for, young people to have, or old people to have like myself.
Kim, please, 32 is not old. Get out of here.
If only. But I wouldn't want to be 32 again, because then I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now. Yeah. I would still be making my 32-year-old mistakes. Lucas, do you have questions? I've commandeered this whole conversation. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to point out, you guys when TrueTrader do the morning webinars or the morning live streams, and those are really fun. I've jumped in the past week or so, and I got to shout out Ricky, man. There's just so much information that he puts out there. Like yesterday, you were doing this breakdown of like the 1 minute candles versus the 5 minute candles, and just the like higher lows on that on Tiger. It was awesome. So yeah, it's so informational, and talking about risk management as well. Like Ricky actually had this. I gotta shout it out again. You like shorted it right near the top, but you're like, just the price action wasn't there for it, and it didn't work exactly how you wanted. So you just like got out just like that. And it was like, no big deal, right? It ended up you were almost at the top. It was you just got the front side a little bit, and it's like so great to see that for newer traders, to see that in action and just being like, I'm wrong right now. And so just to hop out like that.
I'm not gonna lie, being on live stream and like walking traders through trades and stuff gives a certain amount of accountability on puts it on me, right? Like I think people will tell you like, man, Ricky's really good at eating a loss. Like he'll just eat the shit and he'll move on because I have to. Like if I don't, then other people might get hurt because of it. And like, and you know, I like to like joke about it. Like I do it because of the room, but I do that when I'm not live streaming too. Like I don't like to put myself in positions where my back's against the wall. You don't want to be covering a short because you're forced to. You want to cover because it's either at your target or because it's not behaving correctly. You don't want to be like, one of my mentors, he had a joke back in the day. He said, a margin call is not the correct way to set a stop. So,
that's great.
Yeah.
Never heard that.
You wouldn't know it. And some people, that's the way they trade. And it's like, dude, like, I mean, my face would have even more wrinkles if I traded that way. So.
I don't see any wrinkles, Ricky. I don't know what you're talking about.
Got a hat on to cover all the gray hair.
Well, it's a little stressful what you do, but I love that, you know, your comfort with taking losses is there, because to me, that is what a sophisticated trader, if a sophisticated or person who tells you they're an experienced trader doesn't have comfort with loss, I don't know how the hell you can last. Like you can't.
We talk about it all the time where it's like, if you look at how insignificant each single trade should be, you get caught up in the moment because you're like, no, I need this trade to work. Well, why? You take 1,000 trades a year. What's so special about this one trade? And like, I know you've interviewed Brian. He's a good friend of mine. And like,
Brian Lee.
Me and Brian are like, we've been friends for a long time. And I think it blows people's minds when they hear he's got like a 30% win rate. And he's probably one of the most profitable traders there is out there. And it's like, the reason that is because he can eat a loss quick and move on and be like, next. It's nothing. You can't take trades personally. It's just another trade.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad you spoke about that. I don't think I knew you guys were friends. I didn't
I've known him for a while. He's a good one.
Wow, where did you guys meet? Or just
Twitter
online?
Actually, but like we've always just stayed in touch, and like we've kind of like gone back and forth like with different strategy type stuff. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's great. He's great person, great people, and just again somebody who's really comfortable. So maybe that's the takeaway from today's conversation. It's like, and even you, Benito, in that moment where Adriana walked over to you and kind of called out your screen and like how you were doing it, like you didn't get defensive. You just were like, hey, that sounds different. I don't know about that. Let me give that a shot. So
I instantly owned how terrible I was at doing it.
Right? Like maybe that's the secret, sauce to this whole thing is like, how did you just accept that you are making a mistake or that you haven't nailed it, not take it personally, and then you're able to, pivot accordingly.
I think it's about the process, right? It's disconnecting whatever self-worth you have or anything to the outcome of a thing you're doing. And instead ask yourself if what you're doing is, in the terms of the process development, the thing that, that you're giving it your all, right? Yeah. Is that what you're aspiring to? So, I'm pretty new to trading myself. Again, just 1.5, 2 years of doing real trading under the help of guys like Ricky and Adriano and Goose. And so every time I put a trade in, for me, it's like success is not, was it green or red or anything like that? Did I follow my own set of rules? Yeah. Am I in the right headspace for this? The checklist, right? The things that pay dividends long term. And that's not just in trading. It's like in life too, I think, because how some people are, right? And there's probably some people watching this who are like this themselves. Like if they don't win in a thing they're doing, their life and their world can fall apart in that moment. And then it's just an uphill battle, and I'm not saying don't try to win, absolutely be competitive, with yourself, but it's like it's the process to work on, both in all things that you do, whether into relationships or whatever you're into, it's like, are you putting it in every day? Am I working on my trading business or am I just going for the ride, that kind of, that kind of thing.
Yep.
That's what it seems like to me.
What do you make it mean? I mean, that's where I think people get into trouble. Traders get into trouble is they make the meaning of the loss of that one trade. They make it mean they're lousy or they're stupid or they're lazy or fill in the blank. Or, in that moment when Adriana walked over to you, like, well, what am I, dumb that I don't know this? And this guy does know that? Like, you didn't make it mean that. You took it neutrally, but not really, though.
Pretty dumb. I'm happy about it.
But
Send me the way, bro.
That's probably, hey, as much as you want to laugh about that, that makes the best trader. Somebody that can just know what you don't know. Yeah. And know that you don't know shit about shit and anything can happen. Yeah. Because,
so true.
Oh my God. The most stubborn traders are the ones that have the most struggles. Like
that have the most what?
Struggles.
Are the ones who think.
Well, that struggle with things because they think that they're going to outsmart or outwit the market or impose what they want to happen through sheer will or strength through their, I'll just add more. It's like, I always tell people, like, look, is the amount of money you make on this trade from being undisciplined, is that going to subsidize a career of losing money through that being undisciplined? Wow,
because that's a great question.
It's not about this trade. It's about your career. It's about, like Benito said, the process. So, like, you should have stopped out at 20 and it goes to 21 and you're still in the trade. And then you add, and then it comes back to 20. And what do? You make, like, I don't know, like, theoretical number, you make $1,000, but over the course of your career, if you keep doing that, is that $1,000 going to cover all the losses from the same thing? It won't. Yeah. It never will.
Right. That's right. For sure. For sure. It's learning how to be in that place of unattachment and that place of, neutrality that to me, it feels like the perfect school or boot camp for consciousness, enlightenment, because it constantly is forcing you to be with what are you attached to? What are you attached to? And every time we're attached, it's probably not going to end well because it's not going to go exactly the way we want it to. And if we don't get a certain level of callous developed to handle that disappointment and not take it so personally and not make it mean something negative, I don't know how you can go the distance here. I just don't.
No. It's tough. When I think about now, the trading and what I would say to people just thinking about getting into it is the unexpected thing that I found was that if you want to be great at this, you have to overcome your own shortcomings, your own hangups, yourself, right? And like and I don't know if this is just specific to the US or if it's a human nature thing, but we like to run from and convince ourselves that there's nothing wrong with the way that we are. And for the most part, like, sure, there's nothing wrong with the way you are, but like, if you really examine yourself, are you aspiring to the best you possibly can? And I'm not talking about trading, like just as a human being, like this thing that you're on, this journey, are you aspiring to the best version of you? And when people get into trading, this is what I didn't expect, is that you are going to be forced to face that, right? And people are going to respond to perceived failures a number of ways, just the way they do anything else in life. That's right? Like, it's not my fault, it's his fault. It's not my fault, it's that fault. Like, they might sort of shift blame. They might realize that the work that they should have been doing their whole lives, they finally have to sit down and do it or not consider this as a career for themselves. Right. And that's why, I also believe that's why risk management is a really helpful tool, because, if you're faced with an option of saying, look, in order for me to get successful at trading, I also have to tackle this dumpster fire that is me first, right? and then do this other thing that's super duper hard. Boy, that's a big uphill battle. Maybe I don't do it. The nice thing about, risk management is you can sort of, at least for a time, sidestep your dumpster fire of a self if you have strong risk management and say, okay, well, I kind of screwed up on that one, but I don't really have to dress myself just yet because this thing didn't kill me because I'm doing this other thing, right? So you remove a lot of the emotion, a lot of the other things from it, and so you kind of mentioned earlier, like what would you want new traders to consider? Is this buzzword called risk management, and it's a buzzword until, like Ricky said, you blow up your account, and then you're like, hey, maybe that buzzword means something. So take it really seriously, and that's been a hard thing for us to really get into people's heads, right? It's almost like people have to go through some kind of bloodbath before they finally wake up and go, okay, cool, I finally understand, I got to take this seriously. What did you say again? It's almost like they have to do that, and it's like they have to be reborn a little bit in who they are by killing this cocky or ego or rushed person that they were before they went through that event. I'm still to this day trying to understand, like, how do we get people to like really take that seriously? Because it's such a dangerous game that is being played here, but there's tools to make it not dangerous. All you have to do, and they're simple. I mean, Ricky makes it so simple in the way he does things. Like, shout out to you, Ricky. Personally, you helped me do it a few times, but I had to go through an extinction level event almost before I took it seriously. And I was like, dude, Ricky's the man. Thank you.
Wow.
Even if people, like Kim was saying, people see on Twitter and there's a facade that like some people just have it all figured out and they're like trading gods and they never lose, and it's not that way. We all, even like the most veteran traders, have these days where just stuff's not working, stuff's not clicking. We fight ourselves, we fight the monkey mentality. We're human, and so like you have to understand that you might find it hard, but hopefully people don't get it twisted and think like there's this day you're gonna wake up and everything is better and you'll never struggle again. Like I said, man, it's the hardest job in the world, but that's why we do it. It's come to work prepared to put in the effort.
Yeah, and to be with all those dragons and to realize that as human beings, everything that has helped us survive and get to here evolutionary is not going to help you once you start your trading journey. It's the
reason
opposite.
The markets work is because of that dynamic.
So true.
What you think you're supposed to do is absolutely the wrong thing. Absolutely, and that's why the markets work.
Yep, I'm with you. That's how, and in a way, think about how you will be that outlier if you finally get that memo and you have your risk management. All those people who have not taken the time, energy, or discipline are on the other side of your trades. You have so much better chance of succeeding then if you are the one person who has the risk management in place and the self-awareness enough to realize that one trade doesn't represent your self-worth. Then you're up against a whole bunch of people who didn't get that memo yet. Who would you bet on? I would bet on that person who's self-aware and neutral and is practicing risk management. I mean, maybe that's how what traders need to do is they need to look and think from the level of, if I were a betting man or a betting woman on a person and I had to pick two people to bet on, who would you want to bet on? Who are the people that, yeah, exactly. All right, so what didn't we talk about that we should have talked about? Is there anything you guys can think of?
I think something I'd like the trading community to talk about more often that you don't see a lot of is a shift from this, like, especially for newer traders that come into the market, that this mentality of like that they need to trade small caps. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
Good.
I mean,
Talk about that, Ricky.
We're so
Talk
big
about
on,
that.
like, when we bring traders over to TrueTrader, teaching people that like small count doesn't necessarily equal you have to trade cheap stocks.
Yeah.
Because that's the initial thought process is like, well, I can only take like 100 shares of an AMC or an AMD. there I go saying a cheap stock. I meant to say
right.
And so then they see the shiny objects that are the small cap low floats gapping up big, and they see big percentage changes, and this is where risk management helps, is that if you understand how risk management works, you understand that those small caps inherently are more dangerous, even though they seem less dangerous because they're cheaper to your account. They're not. It's such a double-edged sword. Like, well, I can make 20% in like 2 1-minute candles. Yeah, you can also lose 100% real fast. Like, it's a double-edged sword. So like, I would like to see a shift. There's these people that feel like they have to trade them. I can't trade large caps. I don't understand how they move and this and that. You can. You need to stop pigeonholing yourself and like telling yourself this lie. It's a stock. They move. They all move via a trend. You'll hear us talk about that all the time. It's like stocks only move a certain way, and if you can learn how they move, you can trade any price, and you can actually cut out all those small cap trades. And I know it sounds, people watching, it's like, is Ricky talking shit on small caps? I thought he trades small caps. Yeah, I do, but I also understand the danger of them. And I see a lot of people get smoked on them, get hurt real bad. And I think people would give themselves a better chance at longevity if they, one, learned how to trade some of the mid cap to large caps that they're more forgiving. You don't need to take 10,000 shares of a $50 stock. You could just take, 100, 200, whatever. Like, you need to start slow, start small. And and then also maybe even consider not day trading, maybe learn swing trading, maybe learn like pump the brakes. There's this shiny object syndrome, and it was highlighted in 2020. And so now 2021's here. The markets have slightly calmed down a bit, and people are like, oh my God, the market's so slow. It's not slow. Not if you don't know how to trade. Like, we have trades every single day. Every single day there's a large cap that will pop or drop a few points into one of our levels, and we take a quick few points on it, and we're done. First hour of the morning. High probability level, high probability trade. We have psychology on our side because we know people that are buying that spike are chasing, and you have a much higher chance of getting a reversion back to a level if you're taking the opposite side of those people's trades. You don't have to be trading a $5 to $10 stock that could blow your account up in the blink of an eye. Now, you can learn to, but I like to think that people would benefit from learning first on safer stocks and then applying those same concepts, especially the risk management concepts, to the small caps. And then they might realize, like, okay, crap, I shouldn't have been taking that much size on this stock.
Yep, exactly. What do you feel? It's just shiny object syndrome, or do you feel it's because they're not even educated enough to realize there's other options?
It's two parts. It's the percentage gains they see, so they think they can grow their small accounts faster. And it's the fact that there's this misconception that if you only have like a $5,000 account, that you don't have enough buying power to make any kind of real money on a $90 to $100 stock. But the problem is like, listen, like, depending on your broker or whatever, like, usually most people are getting 4 to 1. If you have 5K in your account, you really have 20K of buying power. I'm not saying you need to use it, but I'm just saying, like, you probably can buy a few more shares of Apple than you think you can. And then on top of that, you're able to get a move. Like, you could take 100 shares of a $50 stock that drops 4 points off the open into like a very high probability level. Like, maybe there's the 200-day and daily level right there, and maybe something else, like a bunch of confluence lining up. And you're like, man, it just dropped 4 points right in this level, $46. You could take just like 200 shares and it pops, 2 points, which retraces half the move it just dropped. Yeah. You just made $400. Yeah. Meanwhile, you could be taking 10,000 shares of like some $2 stock and literally needing heart medication by the end of the day because like you're just praying it doesn't rip your face off. And like that's part of the thing is like, can you actually trade 10,000 shares of a $2 stock the same way you trade 200 shares of a $46 stock? My guess is no. Most people don't have the the emotional maturity to handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah. How would you say, for somebody who's listened to you, hears this, recognizes, wow, I don't have that emotional maturity yet, where do you point them to develop that emotional maturity in the first place?
Come over to TrueTrader. I mean, honestly, if you come over, like, one of the first things you'll hear any of the moderators tell you is, like, pump the brakes. Like, slow down. People are here's how people think. When they start trading, they think, I'm going to make X amount of dollars. They don't go, oh crap, I could lose X amount of dollars.
Exactly.
That's what we try to focus people on, is like, look, dude, because they come in, they're swinging for home runs. They want to make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a trade. But are you really prepared to lose $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in a trade? And they don't realize that, like, everybody thinks they're okay with a certain amount of risk until they're faced with that risk. And what happens when someone's down $2,000, they thought they were okay with it, and then all of a sudden they're down $2,000, they don't cut the trade. And then it goes to $4,000. Then it spirals out of control. So first thing you'll always hear us tell people is pump the brakes. Like, and I'm trying to think if there's, like, resources outside of, like, the room that I could point people towards. I'm sure there's, like, Van Tharp. You can look up anything on Van Tharp. He's like the risk management god. He's got books. I'm sure he has YouTube videos. His stuff is highly focused on position sizing. You need, man, I wish you guys could all just come over to the room and talk to Goose. Like, he'll set you straight on realistic goals. Like, if you really would be okay with just making $100,000 a year, then why are you trying to make $3,000 a day? Like, can we not just reverse engineer what it takes to make $100,000 a year?
It's great.
If you do that, then you chop it down to small little blocks and you go, wow, I really don't need to be risking $800 on a trade. I could risk $50, make 100, take a few trades a day, and achieve my goals. And what happens is you start to achieve your goals, you start to build confidence, you start to get a little more wisdom, your account grows, and when your account grows, you can risk more.
That's right.
You got to learn, it's baby steps. It's not, you don't jump in and, now that's the problem. The stock market is the only place where you can, like, first day on the job, try to hit a Nolan Ryan fastball. You're playing against the pros here, so. That's
it. You got to know that. How about you, Benito? Where would you point them for more emotional intelligence besides the TrueTrader room, obviously, and all the magical stuff that's there?
All Kim Curtin material.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, I mean, what a softball, Kim. Yeah, you're on it, guys. Congratulations.
She's got a lot of stuff out there. I mean, she does Instagram Live. She's got all the podcasts. I know you guys got the stuff with
she's on TikTok.
Steady Trade. TikTok? Are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok. Crazy but true. and I keep trying to bring you into my Instagram lives, Ricky, but you're always going to the gym.
Like walking to the gym.
I'm like, don't go to the gym today. Skip it. The hell with discipline.
I skipped it today.
Did you for this? So thank you for doing that. We'll get you on there. We'll get you on there soon. Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's the same. The concept, risk management and our emotional maturity are not the sexy things to talk about, right? So people want to jump into the sexy part, which is understandable, but without the emotional intelligence and the risk management, they're not going to last in the party long.
My recommendation for people like that would be make that the sexy thing, right? Do you want to be a flashy trader or a real one, right?
Yeah.
A real trader, or you want to be a poser. That's the sexy that you need to figure out.
That's good,
right?
Benito. That's
you know what I mean?
Straight. Yeah, totally. It's straight up the truth, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it requires a journey, and you're not going to be Kung Fu Master tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to go through very hard, regimens, and that is worth being proud of. That is hot right there. Yep. That's your sexy.
That's right.
Benito just go Paris Hilton on us.
He did. But you know what? Maybe Paris Hilton is on her way back for her second tour. Who knows? Like all these, that's what's so kind of cool is I think what social media, the bright side of social media is that you do see people have a second and a third life, it's like, but welcome to life, right? We all tuck up, we all make mistakes, we're all down and out, and then we have a resurrection, which is the hero's journey, right? Over and over again. You have to go through the discipline, the challenge, you have to have the gravitas of, holy crap, this is real, and be with those hard truths about yourself. Do I want to be a real trader or a poser? And then you're going to fall down and blow up. I mean, how many traders, even at the top of their game, they've had their blow ups? Like, this is part of the journey. It's just not stopping after the blow up. It's keep picking yourself up. Like the skateboarding lesson that you got as a kid. Like, you would have been laughed at in that skate park if you fell and went home.
Yeah.
If you didn't get back up, even while your cut was bleeding, and go again, that would have been actually the worst thing you could have done. So why isn't it like that in trading as well? Just dust yourself off and get back in the game. But use risk management and emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking, Ricky? If you're into it, the risk management videos that you were talking about with like setting your goals, I'm going to go through it real quick and just make sure there's no, proprietary things, but like, I think that's pretty good general content. I'm thinking about maybe publishing that one for people to get in, since we've been talking about it. I think it does nothing but help. Just does nothing.
That's awesome. Perfect. And then we can put the link in the liner notes on YouTube for the podcast. Lucas, what were you going to say?
Just was saying, this is great. Really appreciate you guys coming on and all the wisdom you're dropping here for us. So.
Yeah. It's powerful stuff, guys. And, hopefully there's going to be at least one person, hopefully more, that will listen to it and have an aha moment. Like it lands eventually. People, if we keep telling them this, eventually they're going to listen. And maybe today's the day for you, listener, whether you're listening on an iPod, on iTunes or YouTube, you're going to be like, oh shit, maybe this isn't bullshit, and I really do have to have risk management and emotional intelligence. Like, you're just what is that saying about, you don't know what you don't know. So until you know and you have that aha moment, but the pain and or the cost is going to eventually make you have to be with this hard truth, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully you survive and live through it and don't bankrupt yourself before you get the memo.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing everything in your power to help people to not go bankrupt and to not bankrupt their souls in addition to their bank account. So thank you for all that you guys both do. For
we can do more.
Traders.
We're trying to do more. It's kind of like I mentioned earlier. It's people trying to get it into their heads to really understand it. You'll be seeing us experiment with different formats to help do that as we go, just because like it's the most heartbreaking thing to see, to like show everyone what they need to see. They take it or they don't, and then they blow up. That's horrifying.
Yeah. It is horrifying, but I think also that you guys care so much too at TrueTrader for those people and want to make sure that doesn't happen. That is incredible. That's an incredible anchor I think you give to everybody there. Is you try to you put up as many warning signs as possible of how to be careful and not fall in those potholes. So it's really on people.
Beings, right? Living lives.
I would agree. For sure. And the other thing you get with TrueTrader is also quite a lot of me. So if you like anything I have to say, they have let me do. I mean, how many have we done in total, Benito? How many?
Let's see. We started with our 4 core content, and then the trading EQ one is, I think we're up to 12 now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought we had done.
It's been such a value add to the community. I'm not saying that just to say that. Like, it was definitely Ricky. An aspect that needed to be covered in the community, because to ignore that part of the learning process is doing such a disservice, right? So like we were blessed to find you and bring you over and have you be able to share your wisdom with the community.
Thank you. It's been, incredible experience for me, because, I did live coaching literally outside the stock exchange back in 2008 to 2009. But besides that, I wasn't doing live coaching. But because of our doing that work, Benito, it's escalated now to me doing these live coaching, speed coaching on Instagram Live. And,
awesome.
I get to do it sometimes even with Stocks to Trade, the steady trade community. But your community definitely, I was a little afraid to do it, because I was like, how's this going to go? Like, to coach somebody in real time on a video that gets to be recorded. It's like, ooh, I hope that goes well. But it's been mostly I walk away from almost every conversation moved to tears, because of the person sharing, being so vulnerable, feeling comfortable to be so vulnerable in the first place says so much about the space you've created. And then the encouragement that I see all the people who listen to the person being coached pile on the person. It's like a love hug. It's like, wow, these people give such a damn about each other.
Mm-hmm. And
it's really moving.
Is when I talk to them afterward and before, a lot of the volunteers do it in an attempt to serve their fellow members, right? So like their vulnerability comes not from a place purely of help me. They definitely have that. That's what they're doing it for. But they, a part of their calculus to do it is, can I help? Maybe this can help somebody else too.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Selfless.
people coming in who end up watching them, they're like, I just binged them all. And holy crap, like, we get messages after the fact from people who watched things from a year ago, and they're just like, I was going through this guy's journey. Like I was going through, I am going through that. Yeah. And like, thank you so much for having, so it's really, thank you, Kim, for doing that. I mean, it's just, being who you are.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and it also is, made me fall completely head over heels in love with the day trading community, because I'm like, God, these are incredible human beings who are so entrepreneurial at heart and are working so hard at and just have good souls, and they want to make it work for themselves, for their family, for their the kids they're going to have in the future if they don't already have them. There's something else there too I wanted to say. It just flew out of my head, just by way of just the variety of trainers you have as well. Like you seem to have, like, I want to almost say like this collection of superheroes that, like, Superman can fly, this one has, he can hear at a great distance. Like you have all these people who have their superpowers and bring that forth to your community. It's pretty, you put it together, and Adriana and you both have put together an incredible group of people. So well done, man.
Thanks, Kim.
Oh, okay. So maybe I have to just circle back to that last question. So the top 1 or 2 or 3, one thing that every trader that's new, and let me maybe put a caveat of, or even because we have sophisticated traders watch this too. What would you say is the 1 or 2 things that's the most important thing to just keep remembering for the journey of trading?
Go ahead, Ricky.
Something that I've learned, and it might sound really cliche, is you're going to have a whole spectrum of mentors throughout your trading career and your journey. Your goal is to take everything that works from what they teach you, from all of them, and you combine it into your own, what works for you. And so like you end up with like this crock pot full of different things you've learned from all these mentors over the years, and it becomes what you are. And like, you have to understand that every single person that is a mentor to you is just the same way, right? They've taken everything they've learned from all their mentors. And so like, that's exactly what my journey has been, but it's also what I'm trying to impart on other people, is make sure you take away, learn something from everyone. There's traders that think that they don't have any value to add,
Yeah,
like, because they're
yeah.
maybe they don't have as many years under their belt. Like Benito, you'll hear him always talk about, I've only been trading for 2 years. But BS, man. There's always some value that you can impart on somebody. And
Beautiful.
so when you meet people, listen,
Yeah.
and take away some value from them, because everybody has something you can learn from them.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Ricky. That's such good advice for not just trading, but for life, actually. That is just true for life. Everybody's got a lesson they've learned that they can teach you if you're open enough to, or humble enough to realize, everybody can teach you something.
Yeah.
Including people that you perhaps don't see initially the value that they actually have hidden underneath whatever they're going through. What do you think, Benito?
Well, I spoke to it earlier, focus on your process, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. And it's not the fun answer. It's not going to be the fun answer. People want their Lambo tomorrow kind of thing, or they're in a really sticky financial situation and they need a Hail Mary to get out of it.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous place to go from, and that's probably not, trading is not going to be the savior to you, right? In that way. But it will force you to be a better you, the best version of you or the worst version of you, right? That's going to come out of it. And that's my perspective on all of this is be ready to put in the work on yourself. If you want to see the success that you want, and the success you want will come later. It's not going to come tomorrow.
Yeah. Good advice. Sobering advice and true advice. So hopefully you guys will all, if you're curious to learn more, go visit TrueTrader, go hit up Benito to understand what it will take for you to be part of that community. But I can't say enough good things about all of everything I've seen within that community, the way you guys show up for each other, the education you give, all of it. It's really impressive. So thank you for having it and being part of it, and for coming on my podcast. I'm honored to have you both here. This was awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, well, let us know what you think. Hopefully we'll have lots of comments. The comments really matter on YouTube, people. So we need more chatty commenters, please, on our podcast. You guys go in there, make some comments, okay?
No, we'll do.
Go easy on me. Go easy on me.
Yeah. Well, let's say some really controversial things. How about that?
Is that it? Maybe that's what we need to do.
Cut this part to the very beginning.
Spice it up.
We didn't touch on politics or religion, so.
Maybe we should. Maybe that's my mistake. I'm not getting controversial enough. I'm being too simple about it all. Well, just thank you guys so much. And, at the end of the day, I want people to just walk away from this just feeling a little bit more awake and aware. And I think you guys have you guys do it in such a way that it's encouraging and uplifting. So thank you for that too. All right, so we'll close it up now. Thanks for watching us, and hopefully we'll see you guys the next time on the Wall Street Coach podcast. Thank you for listening. Aloha.
This has been the Wall Street Coach Podcast with Kim Ann Curtin. You can find out more about her and her team online at thewallstreetcoach.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes. Thank you for listening.